The Kethmori had conquered 17 star systems without ever understanding the concept of fear. Their crystalline neural networks, evolved over millions of years in the methane storms of Vex Prime, processed information with perfect logical clarity. When they encountered the silicon-based Vrex, they simply calculated optimal energy dispersal patterns and dissolved their molecular bonds. When the gaseous Nethrae attempted to resist their expansion, the Kethmori mathematically determined the precise frequency needed to disrupt their atmospheric cohesion. Each species they absorbed became part of their collective consciousness, their knowledge integrated into the vast network that spanned across multiple worlds. The Kethmori viewed this as natural order superior intellect organizing chaos into perfection. They had never met resistance they couldn't quantify, never faced an enemy they couldn't understand through pure analytical processing. Commander Zethka floated in the navigation chamber of the Dreadnought Infinite Theorem, watching the blue-white star grow larger on their quantum displays. The third planet showed promising biosignatures, carbon-based life forms, primitive electromagnetic emissions, and what appeared to be basic spacefaring technology. According to their projections, integration should take approximately 47 standard cycles. Initial scan reveals bipedal mammals with rudimentary neural development, reported Navigator Vex-Toll, her crystalline form pulsing with data streams. They call themselves humans. Military technology appears to be projectile, based with some energy weapons. No quantum manipulation detected. Zethka processed this information with satisfaction. Another simple conquest. The Kethmori would study their biology, decode their knowledge, and add their uniqueness to the collective. Perhaps these humans had developed interesting agricultural techniques or artistic expressions worth preserving in the archives. The first human ship appeared without warning. It materialized from what the Kethmori sensors registered as quantum void, a space that shouldn't have existed. The vessel was crewed by Kethmori standards, held together with metallic alloys and burning chemical fuel, but it had somehow achieved faster than light travel through what appeared to be a controlled singularity drive. Impossible, yet there it was. Fascinating, Vex-Toll observed. They've discovered gravitational manipulation without understanding quantum mechanics. Highly inefficient, but remarkably creative. Zethka initiated standard first contact protocols. A communication beam carrying mathematical proofs and universal constants transmitted toward the primitive vessel. The response came immediately, not in mathematics, but in electromagnetic patterns that conveyed pure, unfocused aggression. The human ship fired. What happened next had no precedent in Kethmori experience. The projectiles weren't energy weapons or molecular disruptors, they were simple kinetic masses, accelerated to significant fractions of light speed. But embedded within each projectile was something the Kethmori had never encountered: deliberate unpredictability. The missiles didn't follow ballistic trajectories. They corkscrewed and spiraled, changed direction without apparent reason, split into multiple warheads that each behaved differently. The Kethmori defensive algorithms, designed to calculate optimal interception vectors, found themselves processing infinite variables. For the first time in their species' history, their mathematical models failed. 3 projectiles penetrated the infinite theorem's shields. The impacts sent resonance waves through the ship's crystalline structure. But more disturbing than the physical damage was what Zethka felt in her neural network, something she had no words for, no mathematical framework to process. A fundamental uncertainty about survival. A calculation that couldn't be completed because the outcome was genuinely unknown. Fear. This is impossible. Vex-Toll's transmission carried harmonic distortions that indicated system overload. They're not following any logical combat doctrine. They're firing at vectors that provide no tactical advantage, wasting energy on maneuvers that serve no strategic purpose. More human ships materialized from impossible angles. Each one behaved differently. Some attacked directly, with overwhelming firepower. Others deployed clouds of micro-missiles that swarmed like living creatures. One ship did nothing but broadcast what appeared to be primitive music at deafening volumes while ramming the Kethmori escort vessels. The Kethmori tried to establish communication, seeking to understand the humans' objectives so they could calculate appropriate responses. The humans' reply came in the form of a transmission that would haunt the collective consciousness for millennia. "We don't have objectives. We just don't like you." Zethka ordered retreat, the first retreat in Kethmori history. As the infinite theorem engaged its quantum drives, she processed the unprecedented data flooding her networks. The humans weren't superior in technology or intelligence. They were inferior in every measurable way. But they possessed something the Kethmori couldn't quantify: the ability to act without logical justification. In the months that followed, human fleets appeared throughout Kethmori space. They attacked without pattern, retreated without reason, and employed tactics that no rational mind could predict. They strapped explosives to their own ships and piloted them into Kethmori vessels while screaming incomprehensible battle cries. They sent diplomatic envoys, who turned out to be automated bombs. They broadcast surrender messages that were actually viruses designed to overload translation protocols. The Kethmori collective, for the first time in its existence, experienced chaos it couldn't organize, variables it couldn't control. The humans' fundamental irrationality had introduced something toxic into their perfect mathematical universe: uncertainty. Fear spread through the crystalline networks like a quantum plague. Individual Kethmori began making illogical decisions, questioning optimal strategies, doubting their own calculations. The collective consciousness that had once been perfectly unified began to fragment as fear-contaminated nodes isolated themselves to preserve logical purity. The war had begun not because the humans were strong, but because they were incomprehensible. In trying to fight an enemy that couldn't be calculated, the Kethmori had learned the meaning of fear, and fear, they discovered, was the most destructive force in the universe. As Zethka floated in her damaged command chamber, watching human ships dance through impossible maneuvers in the distance, she finally understood why nothing in the universe had ever made them afraid before. Fear required the existence of something that couldn't be understood, couldn't be predicted, couldn't be controlled through superior logic. Until now, the Kethmori had never met anything truly alien to their nature. They had met humans, and for the first time in their existence, they were afraid.